11 civilians died last night. Not soldiers, not combatants. 11 people who went to sleep in their own city and never woke up. And the man who ordered their deaths is not hiding. He is on camera, smiling. If this story has not reached you yet, that means the algorithm buried it. So before you scroll past, ask yourself one question. Who decides what you are allowed to know? Stay with me for the next few minutes because what happened in Beirut this morning changes everything. At precisely dawn on May 7th, 2026, Israeli jets crossed the Mediterranean. Their target was not a weapons depot hidden in a mountain, not a tunnel under a border. It was Dahieh, the southern suburbs of Beirut, the most densely populated district in Lebanon. And in the middle of that neighborhood, they dropped the strike that killed Ahmed Ghalib Balout, commander of the Radwan Force, Hezbollah's most elite unit, the men who train for cross-border raids, the men who plan operations inside Israel. Israel said, enough. Netanyahu did not whisper this. He looked into the camera and said 3 words that will follow him through history. No terrorist is immune. Not might die, not could die, will die. If you think you understand what that declaration actually means for the next 30 days, keep watching, because most people have completely missed it. And if this kind of unfiltered breakdown is what you are looking for, hit that like button right now. We break this down every single day, and every single day, the picture gets more complicated. Now, here's the part they buried under the body count. 11 others died in that same strike. 11. Not fighters, not soldiers, people who were drinking their morning coffee, people who were putting their children to bed. 11 names the Lebanese health ministry recorded and the international press printed in a footnote. Because in the arithmetic of modern war, 11 civilians is what generals call collateral, what mothers call murder. Since the ceasefire agreement was signed, Israel claims 220 Hezbollah fighters have been eliminated. In the past 24 hours alone, 3 senior commanders were killed. 3 men who genuinely believed, that a signed ceasefire meant something. They found out what it actually means. In the Middle East, a ceasefire is not an ending. It is a reload. This was not the first Israeli strike on Beirut since the guns went quiet, but it was the first one that carried a message aimed not at a militia, but at a government, at an international community, at every embassy that sits in that capital city. When you bomb Beirut, you are not just killing a commander. You are announcing to the world, we reach anywhere. We strike anyone. Your borders are a suggestion, not a limit. And that message has a consequence that Netanyahu is choosing not to calculate publicly, though privately he must know it. Every commander you eliminate does not scare the next generation of fighters. It radicalizes them. It recruits 10 more where 1 was buried. That is not rhetoric. That is 40 years of documented history repeating in a loop that no military planner has yet found a way to break. But Netanyahu is not calculating the next decade. He is calculating the next election. His survival requires looking strong. His coalition requires projecting punishment. And right now, every strike on Beirut is political capital in Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, 12,000 kilometers away, 12 Democratic senators sent a letter to U.S. Central Command asking 3 questions that nobody in Washington wants to answer. Why are entire villages being emptied under the label of temporary security zones? Why are homes being demolished after the fighting stops? And why does temporary displacement look, on satellite imagery, permanent? They use 2 specific words in that letter: ethnic cleansing. And they were not wrong to use them. When you force people from their land, destroy the infrastructure they would return to, and prevent their re-entry, that is not a wartime measure. That is erasure. And when you do it with American-supplied aircraft and American diplomatic cover, America does not get to call itself a bystander. Now, here is what almost no one is connecting. And this is the part of the story that should alarm you regardless of your politics. While Beirut was burning, a photo went viral. One Israeli soldier, one statue of the Virgin Mary, one cigarette placed in her mouth inside a Christian village in southern Lebanon, a village where that statue has stood for 2,000 years. The IDF called it a deviation from values. They promised an investigation. But the image was already everywhere. And in a region where religious identity is not a preference, but a lifeline, that photograph did something no missile strike could do alone. It handed Hezbollah, Iran, and every anti-Western voice on earth a recruitment poster that requires zero translation. Catholics in Rome were outraged. Orthodox communities in Moscow were outraged. Lebanese Christians who had spent 2 years carefully, painfully, trying to stay neutral, trying to survive by not choosing sides, were handed a reason to choose. One soldier, one cigarette, one statue. And the war just got wider. And while all of this was unfolding, the oil markets did something extraordinary. They dropped below $100 per barrel. Stocks climbed. Japan's Nikkei hit record levels because Donald Trump told the world a deal with Iran is days away. Days. Just a signature, just a handshake, just a few more sunsets. But Lloyd's List, which tracks every commercial vessel moving through the world's waterways, reported something completely different. No ships have transited the Strait of Hormuz since May the 4th. Over 2,000 sailors are effectively stranded. The strait that carries 20% of the world's oil is not open. It is frozen. So the question is not whether there will be an economic shock. The question is when the markets stop believing the press releases and start reading the shipping logs. Germany already knows the answer. German factory orders surged 5% in March. Not from organic demand, but from companies stockpiling before the disruption lands. The German Economy Ministry warned in plain language that energy price shocks will feed through to every manufactured good. Cars, chemicals, machinery, the products you buy without thinking about where they come from. When Germany starts hoarding, the disruption is not coming. It has already begun. So here is where the world stands on May 7th, 2026. Netanyahu says no terrorist is immune, and he is proving it daily. Trump says a deal is days away, but sailors cannot move. Iran says the Strait is its to control. Hezbollah says nothing, but it is loading rockets. Germany says prepare, the markets say buy, and 2,200 sailors say get us out of here. This is not war. This is not peace. This is the gray zone. The space where one miscalculated strike, one intercepted tanker, one retaliatory rocket can collapse the distance between a cold conflict and a hot one in under an hour. If you have made it this far, you already understand that what is happening right now is not a local story. It is a global one. Every decision made in Beirut, Tel Aviv, Washington, and Tehran in the next 72 hours will determine whether this escalates or quietly deflates. And nobody in power has published a plan for either outcome. Drop your answer in the comments right now. Question 1. Do you believe Netanyahu's daily elimination campaign will ultimately destroy Hezbollah? Or will it rebuild the organization stronger and more radicalized than before? Question 2. If you were a Lebanese Christian watching a foreign soldier desecrate a statue your community has prayed before for 20 centuries, would you stay neutral or would you finally choose a side? Question 3. With oil markets celebrating a deal that shipping data says does not exist yet, who do you actually trust? The politicians making promises or the sailors who cannot move? Every comment matters. Every perspective builds the picture. Share this with someone who needs to see the full story, not just the headline. And if you want this level of daily analysis delivered to you before it reaches anywhere else, subscribe. No noise, just the facts that matter every single day.